Imagine spending 10 days in silence. No phones, no distractions, no talking. Just you, your mind, and a meditation technique that thousands upon thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people use every single day to enrich their lives. That is what you can experience at a 10-day Vipassana meditation retreat. If you're at all in the meditation space, you may have heard about these free 10-day meditation retreats, and maybe a lot of people talk greatly about it. And there are a couple people that, did not have the best experiences. But for the most part, you'll hear such wonderful stories of such wonderful transformation. So in this video, I'll talk about what it's like to actually spend 10 days in silence at these retreats and whether I like it. I mean, obviously, if I've gone back so many times, you might get the hint that I kind of like it, but I love it. I think it is the best 10 days of the year for me every time I go, and I do go back every single year. I have gone to, I think, 6 10-day courses. I've gone to a 14-day course. I've done several shorter courses. I've done advanced courses. I've done many courses in this tradition, the tradition of SN Goenka, which is the ones that offer those 10-day free meditations that you can find in the link down below if you're at all interested in signing up. This meditation technique, I think, is the best meditation technique out there for me. I have done many other different meditation techniques, had found tremendous success with those other techniques. But this Vipassana meditation just rung all the right bells for me to be like, all right, this is the one that I want to do moving forward in my life and I can commit to. And I have committed to very seriously over the last almost 4 years now. I've been meditating every single day. There hasn't been a day that I've missed a meditation. And for the most part, 2 hours a day, 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour in the evening. The biggest reason why I chose it is because it's so pragmatic, so intellectual, yet so spiritual at the same time. And just to explain Vipassana, for those that don't know, it's very simple. You make your awareness a few inches and you are scanning subtle sensations in your body, going from head to toe, toe to head, covering every square inch. And you're being aware of subtle sensations and gross sensations. But as you develop more, it's just more and more subtle sensations. And you're observing these subtle sensations and you're trying to remain equanimous with it. And these sensations and observation just bear observation, just bear witnessing of these sensations. And that is the vehicle. The vehicle is sharpened awareness and observing objectively. With Vipassana, you use the sharpness of your awareness to pierce deeper and deeper into the sensations. And as the sensations get subtler and subtler, and you're dividing and dissecting the sensations, and you're going into more minute experiences of the sensations, and that journey of your awareness literally sharpening using these physical sensations ultimately is how you are progressing. And the reason I tried Vipassana is I felt stuck. I felt like when I was doing those other practices, I was also doing like physical yoga asanas. I felt like there was something missing, like there was just something I couldn't wrap my fingers around that I was missing out on. And eventually, I just had this sense of craving something deeper. Vipassana was it for me. Is what ultimately filled my need for connection to myself, connection to my spiritual side, connection to humanity, connection to literally everything that is also in the physical world and the spiritual world. It's like a beautiful combination of connecting you to the deep inner truths of reality and also giving you all the tools and skills necessary to live in like this physical world, at your job, at your relationships, everything. And it was a complete package. And that's ultimately why I fell in love with Vipassana and decided that this is the path that I'm going to invest all my effort, energy into. And that's ultimately what I did. And Vipassana, right, is needed to be learned at a 10-day course just because the faculty or the ability to be able to sense very subtle sensations, I'm talking about like making your awareness a couple inches and being able to feel dozens, hundreds, like many little subtle sensations inside. You can't do that doing like a 20-minute meditation session you found on YouTube. Like you've probably tried it. It's basically a body scan, but a very sharp, intense body scan where you're literally scanning inches at a time. You've probably tried to do like a body scan meditation, or if you haven't, there's so many on YouTube that you can find. And you might have realized, right? You just are feeling very vague, like big muscles and like big things, and you're not able to like make your awareness go from like this big of an area to like a super sharpened like couple inches. So that's number one. You need many days to bring your awareness down to a size where it's just aware of a few inches at a time. And then to be able to feel the distinct, subtle sensations on just that specific part of the body, as opposed to the whole area. So for instance, with the arm, instead of like feeling just vaguely this whole area, it's like being able to distinguish that, hey, this is what I'm feeling in this few inches diameter. And I'm excluding the rest of the arm in the sense that I'm so focused on here that this is the majority of what I feel. So it's hard to do that without meditating and practicing that skill at a 10-day retreat. And that is honestly why I believe it is a 10-day course. It requires a lot of hours and dedication. And going to this 10-day course, it is going to be intense, right? Let's just get that out of the way. The technique is intense and requires a lot of effort. The being in your mind for 10 days straight without having other external information coming in can be intense. The amount of stuff that your subconscious has that you've just packed deep down, those things are going to surface. So your accumulated emotions, your accumulated traumas, your accumulated everything that you've been building up in your life, that's intense, and it's going to come at you during these 10-day courses. So just really understand that it is an intense experience. It is a hard experience. You probably, even thinking of a 10-day course, literally somebody tells you, hey, you can go meditate 12 hours a day for 10 days straight. You already know it's going to be intense. So this shouldn't be super new news. But at the same time, just want to reiterate, it can be an intense experience. Will be. I'd be very surprised if it wasn't for you. Let me know if you've gone to a 10-day and it was not intense for you and you were like, I could do more of that. I hope that's how it is and you have an amazing time. But on the other hand too, it can be very intense. So just being prepared for that. And so what does a 10-day course look like? And so I'll just, be sharing my own personal experience. And I've talked to many people too, on courses. I oftentimes go serve on metta days, which are basically the 10th day. Actually, people can talk, right? It's not like 10 full days of silence. It's like 9 days of silence. And then on the 10th day, you get to talk just as a way to, absorb the shock that you've given the system over the 9 days. And then this kind of the 10th day acts kind of as like a buffer day to get you used to talking again, because you will, like, I always make the joke when I come out on the 10th day, like the first thing I say is like, testing, 1, 2, 3 to whoever's around. And of course they get the joke too, like you haven't spoken for like 10 days. Or if you have, it's just like a few sentences, maybe asking the teacher a question about something, or, your light went out and you had to tell maintenance to fix it. So you've not really spoken for 9 whole days. And so that 10th day is talking, and that 10th day is also metta day, right? Metta is another technique that you learn, which is loving kindness. And so I have gone to serve on those days to talk to students, to help the donation process. If anybody wants to donate, I help them, figure out how to work the credit card system and all that good stuff. And I talk to many students who have just completed a course. And when I tell them about my experiences of the 10-day and kind of like what it looks like and shapes like and feels like, a lot of them are in agreement with what that is. So know that I'm sharing my own experience, but also it's a more general experience of like what you should expect of the day to day at a 10-day course, right? So right, day zero, you go typically Wednesday. You have to get there by 4, 5, 6 o'clock, and you have like some dinner, you're signing up, you're getting your room, you go to your room, unpack all your stuff, or like put your clothes in the closet. So day zero is just getting a little oriented. You have a little orientation in the evening, and then they go through, what to expect at the course. They go through some of the rules and regulations that you got to follow. And then towards the evening, I think maybe 8 or 7:30, something like that, you go in and you receive your first meditation instructions, which is to focus on this triangular area with the base of the lips, like the upper lips, going all the way to right here to this point at the top of your nose. So this triangle. And basically, within this triangle, you just focus on your inhale and exhale, right? You could be focused on just the tip of your nose. You can, just this area basically is what you're doing. And you get those instructions and you meditate. And then, you go to bed at like 9 or something, 9:30, 10 o'clock, whenever you end up falling asleep. And then you wake up the next morning, you have the same instructions. There's breakfast from 6:30 to 8, but really 6:30 to like 7:15 is breakfast, and then you have a break until 8. And then you go to the group meditation, and then you're meditating. If you're curious about what the like daily schedule is like, check out my other video where I like talk more about what the daily schedule is like. In this video, I'll just be focusing on like what the experience internally, more so what it's like. So as you're going through, I like to chunk day 1, 2, and 3. For sure, day 1 and 2, and sometimes half of day 3, sometimes all of day 3, as the quieting down stage. It is literally like you're coming from a society, you're coming from your regular life, your regular stresses, your regular anxieties. There's a lot of rolling happening. Your mind is always worried about this and this, and it's like in this very active state of concern, of worry, of needing to do this, and just so much pent up stuff that comes from living in this world that we are in. And so day 1, 2, 3 is really just like slowing that down. And it takes that long, to be honest. Literally, it takes meditating 2 to 3 days of 12 hours each to just like slow that down a bit, right? To just slow it down so that you can start to focus, And so expect day 1 and 2 for you to be super distracted. And you'll have moments of deeper meditations. You'll be able to, like really work on the distracted mind. And at the same time, the intensity of the practice will make you a bit more tired, right? Because you're not used to meditating for 12 hours a day. And so that will provide like its own level of challenge in those first couple of days, and just like adjusting to the schedule, adjusting to the rules, adjusting to not talking. So you'll have like a lot of impulses of like wanting to look at people, wanting to like communicate in somehow, some way, or like all these habits that you have done in your normal life. You'll find yourself craving for your phone, but then you reach for your phone and then you're like, oh, it's not there. So the first couple days, 3 days, is just literally quieting all this down, letting go of those like impulses that come of wanting to reach for your phone. Like sometimes I'll go to sit in my bed before bedtime, and I'm like, yeah, let me check my phone because that's what I do at home, and then it's not there. And so that's really what the first few days is. It's just you don't even notice this much. It's hard to meditate. You have all these impulses and stuff left over. But then, around day three, four, sometimes halfway through day three, sometimes halfway through day four, you start to kind of settle down more. And kind of the stories you tell in your head um, start to slowly get boring. And what do I mean by the stories you tell in your head? So you in those first few days, you'll be replaying a lot of things that have happened in your life, right? And depending on how old you are, you may have 50 years worth of memories to go through to remember this highlight, this non-highlight, or the opposite nightmare, whatever. You might be 18 years old and you don't have as much as the 50-year-old, right? And so there's a lot of different things, and maybe different things happen in your life. Like for me, it'll be like first few days, I'm thinking about super recent things that have happened in the last year, last 2 years. Second day, it's like going back the last 5, 7 years. Day three, I'm like literally thinking about my childhood and like high school, middle school, college, that kind of stuff. And then by the time like day four rolls around, I've already thought about, everything that's been recent and midterm and long term. And then in like day four, day five, these things keep coming up, the same things over and over again. And then I get disenchanted. I'm like, well, I don't want to think about that thing that happened in high school again. I've already like thought about it 3 times, and it kind of like gets boring, which is another great thing, is because in that stage of like 4, 5, 6, it, your regular thinking patterns, you start to get disenchanted with it. You start to it starts to lose its grip on you, and a large part of it is the meditation technique, and really going to the depth of your mind to work on really bringing these things up and seeing your mind in a different way, right? Seeing such a deeper aspect of yourself. And so day 4, 5, 6, it's like you're starting to like settle down, and you're starting to see the patterns of your mind. You're starting to see the patterns of your reactivity, and you start to have this, I don't want to say out of body, but maybe out of personality experience of your thought patterns. And what I mean by that is, I've talked to a few people who've told me stories that I can somewhat relate to. And one person explained it to me like this. They felt like there was a council of themselves. So there was like 5, 6, 7 different versions of themselves. And then like one of them would say something, right? Let's say a memory starts. And they would be able to see the different parts of their mind that reacts, right? Let's say there's a memory of a high school experience, and maybe one of it was reacting with pride. So this council member is fueled with pride, and maybe one of it was like fueled with fear or something, and then that one is the fear councilman. And then it's like distinguishing the different parts of our experience, or like the different lenses that we see the same experiences as. And so he was seeing all of them as different ones having a conversation about this topic, right? So the one that's like greedy would say this thing, and then the other one would respond in this other way, and it's like this conversation. Now this might sound totally wild, but it's kind of like being able to step outside, and like you like step outside the drama of your mind, and you're just seeing it from afar, and you're able to see it in like such a precise scale, or like so finely, that you can see all the details, and you can see the intricate emotions and perspectives that go into like one experience, right? And so instead of describing a certain experience as just one emotion or one perspective, you're able to see all the nuanced things, and we're such complex beings, right? And so you're able to see this complexity in such a way that you can precisely see all the different parts that are making up that experience that you're having. So this is what starts to happen like day 4, 5, 6 is you're like developing like much deeper into the practice, and you're able to have this kind of, I don't want to say removed experience, but the your inner experience gets so heightened because right, you're not talking to anybody, you're not consuming any external information, and there's a part of our brains, I think, right, this is just a hypothesis, there's a part of our brains that craves information, that is here to like learn, to observe, to make conclusions, to analyze, right? We have that part of our brain, prefrontal cortex, that does all this higher order thinking. And we usually use that on external things, right? You're watching this video, your prefrontal cortex is receiving so much information and it's processing and doing all this kind of stuff with it. And so there's a part of our brains and our minds that craves that job. And what happens when you haven't been talking for 4 or 5 days, you haven't been reading, you haven't been writing, you haven't been consuming any external information, that whole focus, that whole need shifts to the inner world, shifts to your own inner mind to then start to say, okay, how can I consume all this information that's packed in here? And let me tell you, the amount of information that's like packed within us, at the level of my mind, our mind, of, oh, these are the experiences, these are the perspectives, these are the emotions, this is the reasoning, this is the logic, there's all of that. But one thing that's even deeper than that, when we're exclusively working with the physical sensations, is you're also observing the information of the physical universe, in the sense that this physical body is under the function, is like underneath or on top of the physical laws of the universe, that govern gravity, atomic forces, weak forces, strong forces. Basically, all the laws of physics are acting on this body, right? Gravity's acting on this body. And so when you're paying attention to that information, you're paying attention to the mind and its contents and your personality and your mental experiences, and B, to the physical laws that make up the whole universe, essentially, as it pertains to your physical body, right? And the whole law pertains to your physical body, right? There isn't, and by that I mean, like, my hand cannot say, I don't want to follow gravity. Like, you know what? Like, gravity can apply to everything that's physical, but I don't want to respect gravity. Well, it doesn't say that because it can't do that. So any physical laws that there are, this physical body has to follow absolutely, because that's the nature of physical laws. It's like absolute. It can't say, well, screw you, gravity, I'm going to fly. I wish I could fly. Like, I really do wish I could fly, but I can't because gravity, right? So when you're observing this, this follows wholeheartedly 100% all the laws, and you can kind of observe its effects. You can observe the physical law's effects on this physical body, which is sort of like that. Earlier I was talking about how Vipassana allows you to explore the super spiritual, super deep meanings in life, and the makeup and the structure of the universe and all this kind of stuff, as well as, how does my mind work? What are my emotions? What fuels me? How do I resist these temptations? How do I come out of all these negative habit patterns that I've built? So it really helps you on your own mental level. It helps you on a emotional level. It helps you on a social level. It helps you with your daily work. And it helps you understand and tap into the deeper, greater universe, so that you can observe and learn the wisdom of the universe. And that's the other reason I just completely love it. So you start tapping deeper into this day 4, 5, and 6, where you've got your day 1, 2, 3, where you're just slowing things down. You're kind of just getting quiet inside your head. Of course, your mouth is shut from, from the evening of day 0. But your mind will still be rolling for a few days. And don't get it wrong, it will still be like rolling through the 10th day, and you will be like still distracted. It's not like you're going to be 100% focused in your meditations all the time, but there is a significant decrease in how loud it is, right? It's like day one, as loud as it gets, and it just gets quieter and quieter as the course goes. And then day 10, it shoots back up to anyway. So that is day 4, 5, and 6 is you're really going around, you're going much deeper into yourself. And at this point, you found like the most physical, most comfortable postures to sit in during your meditations. And so you've like settled down, you know what works for you, you know what cushions you need, you know if you need a meditation bench or not, and you know you're going much deeper. You have longer strings of time where you are super focused on physical sensations at this point. You have longer and longer periods of uninterrupted focus. You're able to meditate more and more without being as fatigued as the first couple days, where your brain is just like, whoa, we can't, what are, you're trying to make us do this thing for 12 hours? Like, this is hard. But like day 4, 5, and 6, not that you can do it the whole 12 hours, but you have a much easier time meditating for longer periods, having a better time. And you've like fully embraced and you're fully in the flow of the day to day. You know what's coming next, you know, like everything that's happening, and you're very comfortable day 4, 5, and 6. Now, day 7, 8, 9. These are, for me, when the biggest breakthroughs are coming, right? You've been able to start off, quiet your mind down the first few days, go much deeper, start to unlock the patterns of your mind, start to see how it goes. Now you're starting to develop, you know, day 7, 8, and 9, you're starting to really develop a much deeper and enhanced meditation practice where in the 4, 5, and 6, you know, your sittings are getting longer and longer, your meditation ability is getting higher and higher. These all get exemplified in day 7, 8, and 9. You're able to go much deeper, much further, for much longer, and you're fully like committed, and you're in like a wow state. Your whole self changes at this point. Your consciousness is changing. Your the way that you are experiencing your mind and your body are like transformed now. The way that you are experiencing life is different, right? You walked into this 10-day course having an almost purely mental experience, right? Like purely just all in your head. Everything is, is right here, and that's all it is. And now day 7, 8, 9, your seat of experience is enhanced. You're able to literally like feel as a bigger person, not physically, but you're mentally, like maybe if you've noticed, like even thinking right now, you haven't gone to a 10-day retreat. Is your experience a lot in here? You know, like, are you able to, as you're watching this video, how much of your body do you like feel? You know, do you feel a little bit of your body? Do you feel none of your body and it's just all like here? Do you only feel your body when you're like moving your hand to like move something, or, you know, and it's, so you go from, you know, actually leave a comment if your experience of yourself right now as you're watching this video and as you go in your day-to-day life is like just super centered around this, and that's like mainly like 99% what you feel is just all inside your head and your thoughts and all of that. So leave a comment and let me know if that's true, because that's how I remember me being, is literally like almost purely a mental experience of life. So what happens day 7, 8, and 9 is you start to have, you literally feel your body in everything that you do. You know, like me sitting here right now, I can feel my inner like abdomen, I can feel my legs, and I'm having this constant experience of my body as I'm experiencing this, right? Or, you know, sometimes I'll be like sitting at my desk and I'm like feeling stressed, and I'll also feel it in my body. And so I now, you could think of it as feeling twice as much. Now, instead of just feeling it mentally, I'm feeling it mentally and physically. But the bright side is I now can respond in two ways. I can respond mentally and I can respond by, you know, like let's say relaxing my body. So what happens anyway, day 7, 8, 9, basically your whole experience of even the day to day, whether you're in meditation or you're like eating lunch or you're taking a walk during like one of the break periods, is your whole experience of life is shifting, and there's almost this like surreal yet very real experience that your mind is having. And this is where a lot of, I don't want to say traumas come out, but there's a lot of inner work that happens because you're in such a deep state. So that is going to be day 7, 8, and 9. And for me, I always feel this is when the most important work is happening, in the sense that day 1 and 2, 3 is just literally slowing down. There's not too much work happening. There is work happening for sure, but most of the outcome and the results that are happening are to just slow your mind down. And that day 5, 4, 5, 6, it's like happening at this mental level of like, what are my habit patterns, how does my mind rotate, and all that kind of stuff. And then 7, 8, 9 is the more deeper existential experiences that you're having, and that sometimes includes traumas that you got to work through, and sometimes that it just includes a purely awareness based experience. And this is my experience of like a general 10-day course. And it is kind of split into like these 3 different parts, the quieting down part, the going deeper part, and the like really doing some enhancing work on in the deep subconscious, in the deep conscious level, whatever you want to call it. And then the 10th day is, like I was mentioning earlier, it's like when you get to talk, it's kind of acting like a buffer period. You still meditate a few hours that day. Like from the morning until about 10, you're still like meditating that whole time. And then around 10, 9:45 to 10 is when people can start speaking. And so from 10 p.m. to 9 p.m. that night, you might only meditate 4 hours or 3 hours or 2 hours, and that's like kind of normal, because everybody is just so happy to be talking, to be sharing experiences, and to just like do all of that good stuff. So the 10th day is always just like coming back out of this super deep thing that you've done in a very beautiful setting where you're looking at the people around you. They have all done a 10-day course. They've been walking this path with you, right? Even though you didn't talk to them, you didn't ask them how they were, you knew that during these 9 days and half of the 10th day, that they were doing their own work, they were going deep, they were facing probably similar struggles, they were, having the same experience as you, in the sense that they also meditated for 12 hours a day on this journey with you. And so being able to talk and come out of that state with other people that are coming out of that state, and it's just such a beautiful day. It's a very love-filled day, and you'll feel so joyous. You'll feel all the benefits. I've heard many people say, this is how I wish my mind was all the time, when they're talking to people. Some people had like social anxiety before, but then on this 10th day, they're just, the way they relate to other people has just completely transformed. And so this beauty, it's like, this is how I want my mind to be all the time. This is how I want to relate to people all the time. And so the 10th day is also a wonderful day. And then you actually spend the night on the 10th day. You wake up the 11th day, you have a early morning meditation and discourse, and then you get to go home. So that is the day-to-day experience, and that's what it feels like to get through a 10-day course. Very challenging, very hard. You have to work really hard and consistently. You got to be there for the whole 10 days, and then it does work out. If you feel ready for a 10-day course, and if this video has helped you, again, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, if you like it. And, going to a 10-day course, expect it to be intense, and expect it to also be very rewarding. And sometimes rewarding does not always mean happy, blissful times. It can mean that I worked through some traumas that I had, that I was able to use the tools that I learned during the meditation to face my trauma. And facing the trauma can be very hard, definitely not happy, definitely not like blissful and stuff. But you can come out being like, whoa, I faced my traumas. I didn't die. I actually felt strong. And so in that way, you can be like, whoa, that was very rewarding, right? And then other times you will be super blissed out and you will be, dopamine and serotonin will be bursting through your brain and you'll feel like you're on drugs and super high. And it's some of both, right? Both of them are equally rewarding. Maybe even more so the trauma one, because the trauma one is like you're holding on to that stuff for your entire life potentially if you never work through it, and it will continue to impact you for the rest of your life in a negative way. So having worked on it and maybe not being as happy and as peaceful and all that good stuff will set you up long term to be much happier. So it could actually be more rewarding to have that experience if you actually learn the technique and you use the tools that are given to you, equanimity and all this good stuff to be able to process the trauma. So that can be way more rewarding than like having just a super blissful state that just feels good in the moment, but then doesn't like bleed into the future that much. So it's another thing to think about. If you like the video, subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment. Thank you so much.